Back, crypto goes mainstream. The Commodities Futures Trading Commission announcing the launch of the first government-supervised crypto trading platform. It allows Americans to instantly buy, sell, and finance digital assets. Fox Business's Darren Botello live in Washington with all the details. Darren, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Maria. Of course, right now, as we all know, you can buy and sell crypto online already, but this is the first time, like you said, a spot trading platform is getting the full backing of the federal government. So why does this even matter to investors that the CFTC is backing this new Bitnomial platform? These other platforms are legally operating, but here's the catch, Maria. They're often called the Wild West. Basically, it's buyer beware. We've seen this with the collapse of FTX and customers eventually losing out on huge profits they would have had their money stayed safe in the market. They would have had it. Now with this Bitnomial platform, there are stricter standards for transparency, security, and consumer protection to prevent an FTX-style collapse. We spoke exclusively with acting CFTC Chairman Caroline Pham ahead of this new platform going live.
Not only do we want Americans to come back home and to be trading here, where they know that they have the protections that they deserve. But again, that means that American companies that are involved in the crypto industry, they're going to want to build here. They're going to want to invest here. They're going to want to hire here. So this is overall a net benefit to the economy.
This is not a drill, folks, as the CFTC is now backing crypto 100%. And although many people believe this would already occur under a Trump administration, being that he's the most pro-crypto president in history, no one expected this to happen before 2026, and this could be the setup and the catalyst that drives for new higher lows and breakouts for all-time highs into 2026. And if this wasn't already enough, the world's largest fund manager also recently stated that there are many sovereign wealth funds which are buying Bitcoin and crypto. So we've got the largest fund manager in the world. We've got the US government and the CFTC backing the very first crypto exchange in history, creating more trust in the space for institutions to enter. And we even have CZ from Binance absolutely embarrassing one of the largest opponents of crypto, Peter Schiff, on stage at Blockchain Week this week. And so if you're investing in XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, or Chainlink, or virtually any other major crypto, then I'm going to cover what the next couple of weeks and the trade setups are going to look like, because it looks like we are still relatively bearish in the short term. However, all of these events are going to culminate into a longer term support, a greater support, and higher highs likely coming in sometime into the end of 2026. Now, I know a lot of you folks have been watching my videos recently, and some people may have thought I've been flip-flopping because one video looks very bullish, another looks very bearish. At the end of the day, the market is very dynamic. I am still currently on the bear side in the short term, as even you have Michael Burry, the guy who was played by Christian Bale in The Big Short movie, predicting that there is a major market crash coming for the entire market, and that would include crypto. And so how will this all play out in the near future with all of this positive momentum from an institutional level, from a governmental level, yet the markets are still struggling to rally for all-time highs? I'm going to be covering that in this video and giving you my clear-cut perspective on the markets and how I'm going to be approaching certain price targets and pivot points. And really quickly, before we dive into the video, go ahead and check out I Trust Capital if you want to roll over an IRA, a Roth IRA, or even a 401k into one of these tax-advantaged accounts where you can not only self-manage, there are virtually some of the lowest trade fees on most IRA platforms out there, and there are no yearly fees or hidden fees. In other words, you only pay a small fee when you place a trade, and this is completely self-managed. There is no pressure to add on to other products or services that they offer. You can simply invest in any one of the cryptos you see on this list, and they're continuing to add to the list, which is really cool, because if you plan to invest in crypto for your retirement, this is one of the best platforms to do that. So click on the link in the description below to check it out. And as always, my friend, if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the Bull Runners channel. If you're new here, my name is Paul. And first I wanted to start with this video, which is actually quite funny and also telling of what the future is actually going to look like. You have a gold bug who likes to sell gold through his company, Peter Schiff, and arguably has gathered, or better yet, garnered more attention from trashing crypto and blockchain technologies than he has ever in his own businesses or selling gold. That said, here he is on stage next to CZ from Binance, went to prison for I can't remember how long, but now is back in the public spotlight and has even been pardoned by Donald Trump. Again, Donald Trump would do that for him, considering he's one of the largest names in crypto and arguably had a good reason for doing so. That said, this is kind of a good example of why blockchain technology is so valuable and important.
So, I have a nice box here.
What is that?
It has some, I think it's Kyrgyz language. I took it back from Kyrgyzstan. He has a certificate. I got this from a very important person from Kyrgyzstan. Very recently, just completely by luck. So we take it out. It's pretty heavy. I'll put this down. You can see, like it says, Kyrgyzstan, 1,000 grams, fine gold, 99.9.9, and a serial number. Try it.
Yes. Yeah, it's heavy.
Is it real gold or no?
Well, I don't know. I mean, is this what you're trying to?
And so CZ used a example and brilliantly executed upon why gold as a store of value or an asset class, although still valuable, is less valuable than the technology of blockchain and what Bitcoin is. And so now that we've matured as an asset class, or getting to that point, and now we just need to see more and more institutional support and adoption, here is a video from Brian Armstrong talking about the value of blockchain technology and asset tokenization for the future. So it's not just a store of value type narrative, it's also modernizing key infrastructure in old systems that will keep the United States and major cryptos at the forefront of a financial revolution. Let's listen into Brian Armstrong.
If you just zoom out for a minute and say, okay, these companies are staying private longer, right? Sarbanes-Oxley and all these things made it more difficult to go public. The amount of demand for capital in these private companies is just going to keep growing and growing. And there's so much money in crypto. How can crypto update capital formation just like it's updated every other part of the financial services area? So there's a big investment that we're making in how to update how to update capital formation and make it easier for private companies to raise money, but we want to do it with the permission of those companies.
Ultimately, do you want to compete with Larry? Do you guys think that you're competing with each other? Because you've talked about broadening your offerings far beyond crypto.
No, I don't think so. In fact, we're a great partner of theirs on their ETF. Right. We're powering, I think, more than 80% of the ETFs for crypto in terms of custody and trading. And as there's an effort to tokenize their funds, Coinbase is well positioned to be the leader in just tokenization of every asset. I mean, we've done that with stablecoins. You can look at it happening now in various parts of the world with stocks. It should be happening with every fund. And what we want to do is actually market their products to our customers, the $500 billion of assets that you mentioned for retail and institutional. We want to put those products in front of our customers.
And so you have players like Brian Armstrong, who custodians 80% of the assets from BlackRock and their IBIT ETF. And aside from Satoshi Nakamoto, is the largest holder of Bitcoin in the world, just ahead of Michael Saylor in strategy. You also have them essentially confirming that Ripple has made a lot of the right moves this last couple of years, acquiring a bunch of companies to not only be a key player in terms of infrastructure, but we're talking being able to be a custodian for crypto assets, building out infrastructure for asset tokenization, which is expected to grow to $16+ trillion over the next 5 years. And the list goes on. And so this is all leading to a T, where essentially the CFTC, a government entity, is backing the very first crypto trading platform that offers futures through Bitnomial. Now, again, the writing is on the wall. If they're going to allow it for one company, they're going to have to allow it for all the other companies that go through the process of registering with the CFTC. But this is huge because essentially in the United States, nobody is allowed to use leverage unless they have been an accredited investor. But now they're going to be able to do it. That includes people like me and you, or retail investors at a smaller scale, which will create a new era of crypto trading that is actually safer than what we used to have even back in 2022 with the collapse of FTX. And this is set to start next week. So I thoroughly expect all of the other platforms to be able to offer this within probably the next 3 to 6 months max. So essentially what this means is if you've ever traded stocks on something like a Robinhood, an eToro, a Webull, you were able to trade perpetual futures and options. Now this will be available for you with crypto platforms. And so it's such a funny time to be alive in crypto because we've seen more positive news this year than literally any other year in crypto history. And I can double verify that having been in this space since early 2016. I've never seen a year where we've seen this much positive news, this much institutional adoption, and even now government backing. So then what is happening with crypto? Well, you have a major investor like Michael Burry basically stating that there's going to be a major market crash and that he's expecting a prolonged market-wide sell-off that's worse than 2000, which lasted for 31 months. That's quite impressive. And I would argue Michael Burry is someone that should have an opinion that holds weight in the minds of major investors, considering he did get the 2008 market crash right, which made him hundreds of millions of dollars. But you have to also remember that in 2022, he was calling for a greater market crash, which never happened. And then he had to close his short positions in a loss before he went bankrupt. So he's stating this now, and I do believe he's more right now than ever, considering we are officially in a downtrend. I think when the market goes down, it's not like in 2000 where there was this other bunch of stocks that were being ignored and they'll come up even if the NASDAQ crashes. Now I think the whole thing's just going to come down. And if the stock market is crashing, this would likely include crypto as well. So again, I think we're going to have institutional support at higher lows than we previously would. In other words, if Bitcoin, let's just say, was going to crash to like $30,000 from here, instead it might only crash to like $55,000 because there's going to be far more buyers at those key levels and supports, and far more diamond hands with sovereign wealth funds, like Larry Fink stated, with asset tokenization and blockchain adoption, with the CFTC continuing to open the doors for many other platforms to be regulated, and that list will likely continue to grow through 2026. But at the end of the day, nothing can fight the trend of the ocean, right? Right now, we are currently in a downtrend, and it can very much turn into a bear market even with all of these positive developments, which is kind of where I've been at in terms of my analysis. And so looking at Bitcoin, you can see that we did put in an all-time high right back here on October 6th of this year, only to see the market break down heavily. Now, where it really gets interesting is the fact that we've seen increased volume to the upside. However, the majority of this has been sell volume, which is very indicative of a local top. When you see increased volume for breakdowns to new lows, indicative of tops. I've seen this in the past, especially in 2021, when everyone thought we had to go to 100K or even 70 plus K. That never happened. Well, since this point in time, Bitcoin was putting in a series of lows right here between 107 all the way down to like 105, and almost like textbook, right? This horizontal support became a resistance. A break below failed to get us back above 107. We sold off steeply from there all the way to our current local low of almost $79,800 on most exchanges. In other words, we have a series of lower lows and lower highs, with our major low being here. So even if we were to see a retrace back up to, let's say, $100,000 to $105,000, unless we get back above 107, this bull market is officially over. To double confirm that, we are still below that 200-day simple moving average, and it has now, for the very first time since the start of this entire bull market, flipped over, gone flat, and now we are below the line. In most situations or circumstances, we saw a bit of a bear trap, but these were earlier stages in a bull market cycle. We saw it yet again here in April, but now we flipped over. And so with that increased volume in terms of sell pressure, and with the fact that we've seen so much positive news that has failed to truly reflect in the price, and we've just seen greater weakness, this leads me to believe that Michael Burry might be right. In 2026, we might see a very nasty crash. And if that were to occur in the crypto market, especially for Bitcoin, everything else is going to get hammered. If Bitcoin breaks down like 60%, you're going to see cryptos like Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Chainlink dump more than 70+%, some of them potentially even 85%. So then which should you be buying on the dips at the end of this bear market if we're currently in one? And again, I am pretty confident we are now with what the price action is showing me, even with this current retrace, as Bitcoin is still down about 25 to 26% from that all-time high in October. Which cryptos are performing better? The first one I'm going to pull up relative to Bitcoin is Ethereum. And since that exact same period of time, Ethereum is down 32% relative to Bitcoin's 25%. In other words, larger market caps are harder to sell down. It's easier to take less capital in a smaller market for it to dump greater in terms of your losses or percentages. And so if you ever see a smaller market cap that's dumping less, that should give you an indicator that there's relative strength in that market, that there's greater demand for that crypto or that product relative to the rest of the market, which should lead you to say, maybe that's something I should be buying in a bear market. Now that's looking at Ethereum. Let's look at the next one, Solana. Solana, smaller than Ethereum, and you can see it's down 40%. It's this blue line. Okay, let's go ahead and look at XRP. XRP, for whatever reason, is doing better than Ethereum and Solana, but underperforming Bitcoin. And one thing you'll notice in all of these circumstances and situations, from the all-time high for Bitcoin, all of them dump harder than Bitcoin. You can see that all of these lines are below Bitcoin. However, when Bitcoin rose right here, for example, in November 9th to the 10th, this dark blue line indicative of XRP pumped even harder. In other words, smaller market caps that are holding up better than the rest, that pump harder when they retrace, are probably good things to look at. It closely followed Bitcoin in this range from November 10th all the way down to this local low on November 21st. And finally, let's pull up Chainlink. Chainlink outperforming Solana, but underperforming Ethereum. So if I were to rank these in terms of strength, in the case of a bear market, I would rather hold Bitcoin. However, in the case of a bull market, I'd probably rather hold XRP and Ethereum. And that's kind of telling, right? They are larger markets than Solana and Chainlink, no matter the fundamentals. And so my base case scenario is essentially that we are in a bear market, that this product or Bitcoin will likely retrace and rally up to about probably 99,000 to about 101 on the very high end. If we rally above 107 for a major bull trap, that would be a pretty nasty place to get wrecked, which is why I won't be adding a ton of risk or buying this just yet. I need to see a true V-shaped recovery and a new bull market scenario. Right now, this is looking very bearish. So I'm actually going to be adding two short positions at 100,000 all the way up to 106, and I'll be weighing my shorts all the way up into this range with a stop loss somewhere up here. And if I'm right, I can make a lot of money shorting this market, because most markets take the stairway up and then jump off a cliff on the way down. They dump really hard and rapidly when they do. So this can turn into a lot of money and capital to start accumulating and investing for the future. And so if you're wanting to take advantage of a platform where you can risk essentially 1% in order to trade with capital 100 times greater than that by shorting the market into this bear market, then you're going to want to check this platform out.
What if you could trade with $100,000 without ever risking any of your own capital? Well, I'm doing it right now, trading a 100K funded account with zero of my own money on the line. I just paid a one-time evaluation fee to take a trading test. That's it. Because everyone's been asking us, how do I get crypto loans? Or how do you leverage trade without risking any of your own capital? Well, that's exactly why we're leveraging Breakout, which is a crypto prop trading firm recently acquired by Kraken with over 10 million clients, 2.5 million funded accounts, and over $1.5 billion in revenue in 2024 alone. They will fund you up to $200,000 after passing one simple trading test. And you get to keep up to 90% of the profit, and you can withdraw in USDC 24/7 after passing the trading test through the link in the description of this video. Now, here's the problem that I've seen most people face. Let's say you're trading with $10,000 of your own money. That's your rent, that's your groceries, that's an emergency fund. And one bad trade or black swan event and poof, your account is completely blown. Rent's late, savings is wiped, and your family is stressed out. So you're not trading to win. Trading your own money is trading for survival, whereas trading with 100K of risk-free capital is freedom. In fact, if you only have $10,000, you should never be trading with all of that. Instead, if you took just 10%, which is $1,000, and you buy the 100K or the 200K breakout test, and you pass the test, well, you're going to be trading with six figures without depositing or risking any of your own money. This is what I'm doing right now. And if you fail the test, you only lose $1,000 instead of your $10,000 because you shouldn't even be trading with $10,000 of your own money in the first place if you can't pass a simple $1,000 trading test. And the best part is there's no limit on retries. So that $1,000 can give you 10 shots at a 100K account if you fail the first few. That's 10x better risk management. And that's how you prove you actually know what you're doing. And this is the smartest strategy that the best traders in the world use. That's OPM, other people's money. You pass the test, you trade Kraken's money, and you get to keep up to 90% of the profits. And you can withdraw USDC on demand 24/7. So I paid, I passed, and now I'm trading 100K, and it only cost me $1,000 rather than risking $100,000 of my own money. And now it's your turn. So do not buy the small test. You're here to scale your portfolio fast. So here's exactly what you need to do right now. I left a link in the description of this video, and when you click it and select the classic one-step 100K or 200K account test, you simply click start trading, and then you enter in the affiliate code 777 on your checkout to get the maximum discount on your 100K or 200K funded account. And make sure to check the add-on box for the 90% profit split. It's only $100 extra. It pays for itself in your first payout, and if you skip it, you're leaving 10% on the table forever, so it's well worth it. Then you simply pay for the test, you pass it, you have an unlimited time frame, and you get to keep up to 90% of the profits. And again, you can withdraw in USDC anytime that you want after you pass the test. That's it. Now, we do earn a small commission when you use our code 777, but it supports value-based videos like this, and it'll help you get the maximum discount on your 100K or 200K funded account test. So click the link in the description right now, take the test, and let's get you funded.
So go ahead and check that out by clicking on the link in the description below for breakoutprop.com and our affiliate code for a better deal. I appreciate your time and watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video, my friend. Goodbye.